trying to connect with three international, highly, research-intensive partners on photovoltaics integration, which is very important for our island, I guess. This is open not just only for MCAS people, but including for Maltese people as well. So, for example, workshops, which are even international workshops, they will be open for anybody who would be interested making some research in the field. They will be open for them, and we can support them. We will have also summer and winter schools, which we will invite 14 international experts, and we have 3 of these during the next 3 years, and they will be open free of charge for Maltese and also international people. So please keep in touch with our website, our communication links, and we also, I'd like to thank once again the RGPI and the Chamber of Engineers for jointly collaborating this. And as you could see, once we really come together, there is quite a lot of people that today are here, and I'm pleased with that. Thank you very much. Knowing that you are sacrificing a little bit from your loved ones, especially during St. Valentine's Day. So this is a very big present for our St. Valentine, right? So Antoine is coming from CEA in France. He actually is a research engineer in CEA. And just a very brief introduction. Everybody is nowadays hearing about AI technology and things like that, right? Antoine, since 1987, right, have set up a laboratory on AI. So those of you who are interested as well about this type of technology, I think you have a great contact here. And with a lot of experience, he will be delivering a presentation on the highlights of the technologies at CA and also the potential. And I know his work internationally with Martinique Islands and islands similar to Malta, so this would be very interesting about how we can adopt the technologies to our islands. Any you would like to add to this presentation? Thank you.
To begin now? Yes. So first I would like to thank the NTPI and the Chamber of the Engineers and also MCAS Energy for welcoming me. So the speech will be divided into, first we will say a few words about France, which you surely know, but I will say some words. We will briefly present the big institute, CEA. We will speak about the technologies we develop. We will see how these can be applied to insular territories such as Malta. And we will speak about the 3-year collaboration in the frame of the JUMP2Excel project. So we were glad to come to Malta and several islands. So here you can see France mainland and all the overseas territories. Because France mainland has a population of around 65 million people. Our area is a bit more than 500,000 square kilometers. So it is really a mid country, the medium range country. So then if you consider all the territories out of the France mainland, you add 2.2 million people and more than 100,000 square kilometers. So, if you consider all these territories except Corsica, which is really close to France mainland, we cover almost every part of the world except Arctic. which is may interest you is the fact that some French islands are really similar to Malta. You can see here a graph showing in the horizontal axis the area of the territory and in the vertical axis the population. So you can see here Malta, according to the figures you can find in the internet, and a few islands. So you can see that these two Caribbean islands have almost the same population, but are a bit wider. If you take Réunion Island, this is wider and have more population, and Corsica is less populated and is a lot bigger than all these islands. Some words about energy consumption 2 years ago. So this is the use of primary energy in France. You can see in black oil, coal, gas, which represents almost half of our consumption. In blue, the nuclear energy, mainly for electricity, and small quantities of biofuels and so on. If you stick to the electricity production, what is interesting is that almost or a lot of our electric energy comes from the nuclear power plants. And we have not that much, but some hydro. Here, 10%. 10% of oil, coal and gas, and a bit wind, a little bit of solar and biofuels. And what is really interesting is to divide it by the population so that you can compare it to the Maltese case. And of course, here the average consumption is a bit less than 8,000 kilowatt hours per inhabitant. And what is interesting, this. You can see in 1960, we had only this consumption. It was a lot less. But what you see is that nothing changed for hydro and for oil, coal and gas. It is almost the same quantity than 70 years ago. And the increase of consumption comes only from mostly nuclear and a bit wind energy, solar, and so on. So, in 1960, we used to use renewables at around 55% rate, which was huge. And nowadays it represents not a lot, of course. An interesting cost is the cost of electricity in France, which I think is very different from the cost of electricity in Malta. Here, so you can see that the total cost in France for an average consumer not heating with electricity, it would be different, okay? And so you can see here the fact that the cost of the kilowatt hours without taxes is around half of the cost. It costs around 9 euro cents per kilowatt hour. And almost more than half is production and a bit less than half is transportation of electricity, because France is a big country, and you have to transport electricity from the nuclear power plants to every city, every place in France. So we have a high cost of electricity transportation. The second point, if we accept the subscription to the access to electricity, is the high level of taxes. So there are a lot of taxes going either to city, to municipalities, to regions, to the states. And okay, so this explains partly the high cost of electricity in France. So now let's speak about CA. CA has been created just after the Second World War in 1945. And okay, you can see here the board of the first scientific committee of CA, and just here you can see a woman who is the daughter, who is Irène Joliot-Curie, who is the daughter of the well-known Marie Curie, who is the first and I think the only woman who received 2 Nobel Prizes, which is exceptional. And so they were eminent scientists at the beginning of CA. The 2 goals were, let's say, the nuclear weapons, okay, and then the fact that that France wanted to be more independent for electricity, and so the civil nuclear research for the nuclear production of electricity. So it worked. You've seen that now most of our electricity comes out of nuclear. CA is a big institute with 10 research centers. You can see in blue the military ones, and in red the civil ones. And just for your information, I'm coming from the more south site near Marseille, which is called Cadarache. Okay. So we are more than 16,000 employees, a lot of PhD, a lot of postdocs, and many scientific publications. And what is more specific, we have a lot of patents, because we are not only an academic research group, we are a group for engineering. So I will not speak about military CA. They just develop nuclear weapons, okay? I will speak about civil CA. And first, our first activity is around producing electricity with nuclear reactors. And nowadays we are developing new generation of reactors. And mainly you can see here, bottom right, the new reactors for fusion. But according to fission, we are developing new power plants with new nuclear fuels, better efficiency, better safety, cost reduction, and so on. But I have to say that it costs a lot of money. Because the more and more accidents, the more and more the population wants safety. Of course. So the first activity was nuclear reactors. Then the second activity is about fundamental research. With 3 main topics. The first topic is around the exploration and the modeling of the structure of matter, and the discovery of the universe. So you can see some illustration of this activity. The second topic is about health and science and life science, and we are studying the effects of radiation on humans. And mainly, our key problem, the effect of very small doses of radiation. stimulated on the health of individuals. We studied such diseases as cancer, of course, and also, which is really interesting, the study of the effects of the dispersion of radionuclides on the environment after accidents such as Chernobyl and, of course, Fukushima. A lot of our colleagues work on these accidents. We work also on climate and environment, and we work on the global warming because of greenhouse gas emissions, and we are also studying earthquakes and tsunamis, everything at the globe scale. So after the nuclear electricity, after the fundamental research, we study technology, and there is the technological research. Here you have an image on the technological research in Europe, and you can see that we are not the biggest institute in Europe, because our colleagues in Germany are really huge. There are more than 28,000 people. And okay, it is a lot of money, as you can see, 1,800 million euros. It is a lot. But we are the second one with almost 4,500 people. Today I met some people at the university working with us in such and such area, and it is amazing how many topics we address at CA. So, of course, at CA we are working on new technologies for energy since the 70s. After the oil shocks, when the increase of the cost of oil was so big. So at this time, the motto in France was, in France we have no oil, but we have ideas. Why not? So this photo has been taken in Cadarache during the 80s, and you could see some photovoltaic, some thermal power plant, and okay, there were also desalination and so on. But nowadays, and very recently, instead of being only nuclear, we have been positioned on energy transition in France. So at CA, we created a very big laboratory in a department called CA Tech. It has been created in 2004, and now it has 1,000 people. The National Solar Institute has been created in 2006 and has now 400 people. And last but not least, since 2011, the new name is Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission. We used to be only the Atomic Energy Commission. Now, officially, we are Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission. And those days, there is a high restructuration of CA, and they want to make only one great direction of non-carbonized energy, including nuclear and renewables. Here you can see our main activity. It is about solar energy, solar photovoltaic. hydrogen and fuel cells, electric vehicles, biofuels, energy efficiency in buildings. So we cover all these topics, and I will give you some details. Here you can see the new Solar Institute at Chambéry. For people knowing this region, it is between Grenoble and Geneva, sorry. And located here you can see the Lac du Bourget. And it is really a nice region for people liking skiing and nature. So what are the technologies for energy we develop at Chambéry? We have set up very big demonstrators for the production of biofuels from biomass. And here you can see a very big reactor. We focus also on the production of fuels from microalgae. Here you can see reactors of microalgae receiving light of sun, and they are supposed to transform light of sun in biofuels. But it is still expensive, and also we are trying to develop the production of products with a very high added value. For example, food supplements, cosmetics that you can sell very high. And so the people coming in Cadarache in May, in the frame of JUMP2Excel, will see it reactive. You can see here a big facility concentrating solar energy into thermal tube with a thermal fluid. And so we have been experimenting this for, let's say, 30 years now. But for 10 years we have very new facilities, and we are testing many use of this hot water or heat. We produce electricity, we desalinize the water, we store heat in water tanks, which can interest chemicals. And we produce cold, which is amazing during winter time when it is 40 degrees out. We produce ice with this heat. It's a bit amazing. We have been working on hydrogen for years, and we cover all the main topics on research. So first, hydrogen production with electricity, which is called electrolysis. The storage of hydrogen in reservoir, the conception of fuel cells, that you can see here, fuel cell, for the direct conversion of hydrogen into electricity. And here you can see a facility we have not so far to here, in Corsica. And here you can see photovoltaics. You can see the storage of hydrogen at the back. Okay. We also study small buildings. And here you can see a small building at Ines. And we study components, we manage energy in building, heat pump, thermal energy storage, natural ventilation, and so on and so on. Of course, we are working on photovoltaics, and we develop new technologies, even if you know most of the production is done in China. But we are trying to complete specific technology, for example, bifacial model receiving energy from both sides, heterojunction models, okay, let's say models less sensible to the heat, produce more when it is heated than traditional technology. And so We produce new technology of cells, new modules, and we test them, and then people come in to Cadarache in A will see our test facility. As I presented at JUMP2Excel 2 days ago, the most important in photovoltaics is the received solar energy, and so we study the solar energy here under this node at Cadarache. You can see a facility testing the incoming solar energy from everywhere, every direction. And in the right, in reality, it is the measurement of the direct illumination from sun for the solar thermal facility we have in Cadarache. Here, you can see our showroom for the management of grids, electric grids, and the balance of energy supply and demand, the management of energy storage, and the setup of ancillary services such as voltage and frequency management. Regarding storage, we set up new technologies. We set up new energy management system, and in the right, you can see here people who work with the car manufacturers, the main car manufacturers in France, for electric vehicles, of course. Regarding energy storage, we're working with some companies in Corsica in what we call pumped hydroelectric energy storage, which means that you have two reservoirs, one high, one low. When there is too much, for example, photovoltaic energy, you pump the water from the bottom to the top, and where there is not enough sun or at night, you do the opposite. We produce energy from this. And you know, this is largely done in the world because there are 80 gigawatts of capacity, which is fantastic. But the new thing is that you do at a very, 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 very smaller scale. For example, we have an example in Switzerland with two reservoirs with a difference of altitude of only 14 meters, producing 400 kilowatts of power. So we work on electric mobility itself and the management of the vehicle charging and the use of energy stored in the battery in the vehicle to take it back to the grid. And the management of very complex system with, at the same time, photovoltaic energies and random events from, for example, from current electric vehicle for the car rental for tourism, for example. So what you have to know is that at Cadarache we have, at CIA in general, we have to, that the half of the fleet has to be electric in the French law. And so at Cadarache we have now, today we have 75 electric vehicles. And we are about to have in 2 years 100 vehicles. And we are more than 100 charging points, which is a lot, you know, because in Marseille there are 50 charging points. In Aix-en-Provence, the city close to Marseille, you have only 40 charging points. So we have a lot of charging points. And we met the regional administration to set up a region plan of mobility using our charging points. And finally, regarding the technology for energy development at CA, we are present on the with RTE, which is the French TSO transmission system operator. That is the operator which distributes electric energy all over France and with our neighbors, Italy, Germany, Spain, Switzerland, Belgium. And they work on the mechanism of the electricity market and try to apply it to the photovoltaic electric production. And it is not easy at all in a very big country with a lot of nuclear power plants because our electricity is very low and it is not easy to go on the electric market with photovoltaics. So we are done with the presentation of the activities at CA. And okay, you can consider CA as a shop where you can find almost any kind of skill in a lot of domains. And every time I need something, I ask my colleagues, work colleagues and so on, and we always find the good guys for doing anything. So we have spoken about the technologies developed at CA regarding renewables and energy. And let's say a few words about their application on insular territories. We have been cooperating for years with these insular territories, and I will show you some examples. Here you can see another photo, the photo I showed you 10 slides ago. You can see the storage of hydrogen with the MIRT program in Corsica, which is very interesting. We also had the research program with Réunion Island. Réunion Island is the small French island between Madagascar, so there is Africa, South Africa, Madagascar, Réunion Island, and Mauritius. Maybe I've been there for holidays, and okay, we work with these people, and you think this is a bit like what we had in the photo. 3 photos ago, in the geode, which was the twin geode, which was put in the roof at Saint-Pierre de la Réunion. So we had some programs, some European research program. This one was about the integration of energy storage in a small island, microgrid communicating with the main electricity grid. We made a very accurate study for the management of wind energy in Guadeloupe Island, mixing wind energy and energy storage to be able to put more energy in the grid. So it is not really energy management, but for your information, we help these people in Sicilia to set up a new photovoltaic factory using our technology. So we submitted some project to Europe. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work. Thank you for trying for a successful project. And a bit more important is our collaboration with Martinique Island since 2006. It was about the performance of photovoltaics, the solar resource, the management of photovoltaics plus electrochemical storage for an hospital. And you can see here people of Martinique Island who came during 6 months at Cadarache for a training, a bit like what we are about to do in JUMP2Excel, but less long. And here we can see we went to Martinique Island. So maybe some Maltese people will be able to go to Martinique Island. Okay, we will speak about it in another speech. We have just signed 2 months ago an agreement for 3 years with Martinique Island because they want to introduce a massive amount of electric vehicles for photovoltaics in every room and of energy storage. Because the French law told Martinique not using any carbon, any energy coming from carbon, no gas, no coal, not any fuel in 11 years, to 2030. In my opinion, it is not possible. But anyway, we want to address this topic and we will do our best during the next 3 years. So now a few words about our collaboration within between, let's say, Malta and France, or CA and MCAS Energy. Within the frame of the JUMP2Excel project. So Brian told you a few words about it, but I can add that you are about to work about photovoltaic technology, the performance of photovoltaics. We've done the training two days ago. So it's about smart electric grids, the smart usage of electricity. We want to make a link between water and energy demand. It's about solar resource prediction and the management of the intermittency of photovoltaics. It is about solar resource knowledge and code. And so I will use the photo Venus to show you what could be possible topics for future projects. So we can work together with MCAS on photovoltaic technologies. So here is the list of the technologies we developed. We can work on the performance of photovoltaics in Malta, in France, in our islands. We can work on photovoltaics on building. It is a very interesting topic, and I think the things are really different in Malta than in south of France and in north of France. And okay, I think here it is a specific subject. The key point here is the management of photovoltaic energy in insular electric grids. It is a big topic. We can speak about solar resource. Without solar resource prediction using either this kind of device, which is photos of sky, or prediction during the next 30 minutes, or using satellite images for prediction in the next 6 hours, or using video simulation. We can speak also the balance of energy in smart grids. So we speak about Corsica, which has almost the same population, no, less population than here, which is a lot bigger. So it is less difficult to handle, I would say, because here we are at the same time an insular territory and a big city, and it is not two times, but so many times more difficult than territory with the possibility of putting so many photovoltaics and so on. And here, very interesting graph showing for each of the 24 hours of the day, the average production for 1 year. So you can hear Corsica import electricity from Italy. There is a cable from Italy to Sardinia, and they are allowed to take 25% of this energy. So it's not totally as you do with the cable between Sicily and you, but it's a bit like this. The import energy, they have traditional gas and oil power plants. They have also photovoltaics, not that much, and a bit of hydroelectricity because they have a lot of mountains. So we can do this also in Malta. Okay. The conclusion. So we do a lot of things at CA, but we developed a lot of skills in renewables. Insular territories are really interesting for such big institute as CA because it is realistic to use new technologies for energy here because of the higher cost of electricity, for example, than in France. Or because you have some, like Martinique Island, there are very big problems because of electric vehicles, photovoltaic energy and energy storage. Malta, as I told you, at the same time an island and a big city, and so challenges are higher than everywhere else. What I found coming here is what surprised me, the strong link between institutions, between electricity operator, institution and academics such as MCAS. Okay, so it appeared during my mentoring visit last week that there should be an opportunity of a higher bilateral cooperation, I would say, as an extension of the JUMP2Excel project, and above all, there could be a synergy between CA and gas energy and Malta, let's say, Martinique and CA. It could be an opportunity. And some other territories in the Med could join us. And in our overseas department, such as Iranian Island. So this could be a good opportunity. So thank you a lot for your attention. So, after a short talk with Brian, so I decided to present this last slide, a few more words about France. So here is Corsica. Corsica has been French since 1768. We brought it to the Kingdom of Genova. And you know this guy, I think. So this guy was born in 1769, only 1 year later. So he was almost from Genova, from the Genova Kingdom of, at least from Corsica. He was French by chance. So if there were problems between France and Malta a long time ago, I think there were problems between Corsica and Malta. And so, thank you for your kind welcome.
Thank you very much. Maybe there are some questions you'd like to ask?
Yes. Can I ask you? So from your side, from CAA, from France, are you going to fulfill the criteria set by you 2020 and targets, or how is it going there? That the 20% of the total production should come from renewables.
There are the new, in France, I will translate it in English. Yeah, there are the new plan for energy for several years. I don't remember the English word for it. Has been recently set up and recently published, I think 2 weeks ago. And we are about to develop a lot of photovoltaic energy. You know, for example, that in France we have only 8 gigawatts of photovoltaics. In Germany, which has a bit more inhabitants, but which is smaller than France, they have, instead of having 8 gigawatts, they have 50 gigawatts. And there is less sun in Germany. So we are about, in this time, supposed to put 24 gigawatts of photovoltaics and a lot of wind energy. So there is clearly a change in the French politics from nuclear to renewable. In my opinion, we don't have to throw out nuclear. Okay, it is a part of our mix, and we have to keep it at least for several years. Maybe in 20 or 40 or 50 years we can let it out. But
what about the roughly? I'm not asking for the precise number. The nuclear consumption for the power plants, like average, roughly, like, and if it's possible, where do you buy?
so we buy scale of the government. I think that there are two questions in one. The first one is we take uranium mainly from it's called Niger in English. I think it's Niger, not Nigeria, but Niger.
It's a different pronunciation.
In France, French would pronounce Niger.
It's the same in pronunciation.
So we take uranium mainly from it. The second part of your question is that in France, we used to have program multiplying this nuclear resource by a factor of 17. But this program has been cancelled because it is so expensive. And because of the pressure of green people, let's say.
Is there any hope of going to nuclear fusion?
So close to Cadarache, there is the ITER project, which gathers all the countries of the world. A program of 10,000 millions of euros, which is a lot. And it is, the principle is to provide energy from hydrogen, and deuterium and tritium, which are present in very big quantities in the seas, the water of the sea. And it is supposed to produce a lot of energy in 40 years. I don't know, but now we have technology that, such as photovoltaics, such as wind turbines, that we may apply today. So why dreaming of a beautiful future instead of working today? So I would say, answer you, that we can try to do both. Dreaming to a future, it will bring us, anyway, it will bring us some technologies about anything, about everything, and to work how today with the existing energies.
What about the methods required for the production of photovoltaic? First, you said,
Sorry.
What about the methods required for the production of photovoltaic cells? First, you said we wanted to compete with China. Do their methods come from Chinese excavations, or you get them from other sources?
No. So, there are two problems with photovoltaic. Mainly you use solution. Solution magnetic everywhere the same. Okay. Not everywhere, but almost everywhere. And you have some specific materials that you can find maybe in China. So this is a real problem. I think there is no good solution in my opinion. Every time you change, you have problems. You have no ideal energy. Every time so if you stick to photovoltaics, you will be more with this country. If you stick with oil, it is rather with that country. So to be pessimistic, it is a kind of joke, but there is no ideal energy. So in my opinion, the main problem with photovoltaics is that it is produced in China with this coal. And what would be nice would be to produce the solution with the French nuclear. Why not? Since we have them. But I totally agree with the green people saying that we have to have very secure power plants.
Would still require a source of those rare metals that you still need apart from silicon.
Sorry.
We would still need to secure a source of those.
Right.
So just circumventing the problem.
Yeah.
What concerns hydrogen as a fuel, as a future fuel? Hydrogen has been around for hundreds of years. We see also transport now being proposed with fuel with hydrogen as the main fuel. What is your take on the feasibility of using hydrogen fuel for mass transport, taking into account that it seems to be competing with EVs, electric vehicles, and others in the market? Does CEA work in conjunction with the industry, let's say the automotive industry, to develop something which is commercially feasible?
Okay, what is interesting is that in fact it is not only CEA, it is European research. There are huge amounts of money. I've just read it 2 hours ago. There will be huge amount of money on the development of the technology of lithium-ion batteries. Sorry. And so the same for hydrogen, the same for electric vehicles. And so about hydrogen, there are several problems, of course. The problems of safety. We don't want to have explosions in your garage. And so we have to know that to store hydrogen, which is very light gas, you have to have very heavy containers. And okay, it's not easy at all. There is a high problem of cost of those fuel cells. So there is a hope that one day it will be less expensive, but in reality, I hear even in CA, I hear different things. People thinking it will be right, and we need energy. People saying no, it will be ever too expensive. So I'm not enough specialist on it. That's it.
I saw a photo of sodium ion battery. Is this close to being commercial by then? Because sodium, of course, is much cheaper than the NIV stationary storage.
Okay, I know that we had a lot of studies about it. And I know that the French EDF made experiments in the Réunion Island and but I know also that the cost of lithium-ion batteries is decreasing and decreasing and decreasing.
As I heard, since there's much larger demand now for lithium, might be a problem because of lithium reserves.
Yeah, it's a problem of cobalt, really, which is produced in Congo and in China maybe. So, our colleague told us there are always problems of resources for each technology. And so, in my opinion, the key problem for lithium-ion batteries is the recycling of materials. This is the key problem. Because once you have bought, let's say, 2 million batteries, they are here, in your territory. They are not any longer in China. And the cobalt is here. And so I asked some colleagues at CA 2 months ago, and what about recycling lithium-ion batteries? And they told me that you can recycle, I think, 85% after 7 years of life. So you buy 1 million batteries, and 7 years later you have still, if I count well, 850,000 batteries, and 7 years later you still have a lot of batteries. So it is really recycling for me the key point, as well for models, solar models, as for batteries.
When we talk about research, especially when it comes to photovoltaics.
Can you, speak a bit louder?
Yeah. So when we talk about research in photovoltaics, we know that the European Commission is pushing not only from the chemistry level when it comes to photovoltaics, it also pushes on the other end, which is like the batteries. Where do you see the direction going in the near future? Is the research being gained in a specific direction, or are you aware about the French position maybe on this?
Maybe not the French position, but the position of excellent specialists at INES, my colleagues of me, good guys, researchers. And so the position is, okay, the main position is now in China. Okay, so let's buy and use it. And then after all material, aluminum, copper, glass, silicium will be here in Europe, outside in France. And then, if we recycle it, we'll have some energy for the future. Okay. Then, in some cases, it might be interesting to have specific technologies. For example, at CA, we set up new technologies less sensible to temperature. I spoke 2 days ago about temperature coefficient, which means that when temperature increases, the efficiency of photovoltaic decreases, and a lot. And some technologies we develop are less sensible. The losses are less not as high as the traditional technologies. So there are some possible paths for some specific technologies, and we have some ideas at CA about it. For example, what we call heterojunction, which is you put some material at the surface of traditional crystallized silicon cells, and with some new materials. And we are trying to develop a way of testing it very quickly. So we want to have a method to test new technologies in the 10 years, in order to see if they are promising technologies. For example, if we are considering what occurred in the photovoltaic community in the last 2 years, or 3 years, they developed new technologies. And so it was incredible. In very few years, the efficiency went up so quickly. But the problem, it ages very badly. You know, when you put it on the light, the performance slows down very, very quickly. So, new technologies may be somehow interesting in some conditions, but instead of running to the future, let's use today available technologies. And not dream about future, but work today.
I think it was a very interesting discussion and talk as well, and presentation. Thank you very much, Adnan. Once again. Thank you, all of you who came for this event. And please do follow NGPI as well. We do other seminars similar to these, as well as the project JUMP2Excel and the Chamber of Engineers. They also organize different other seminars. And I'd like to thank also some of my group as well, Renata, George, Albert, Marina and Danica, who have helped us to also make, always they are trying to ensure that these activities go smoothly as well. Thank you very much.